welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is writer, actor, painter, comedian, and super awesome human being, my friend Connie Wang. Thanks for coming on the Sanctuary today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, you do so many things. Like, how do you fit all those into the 24 hours you have in a day?
I am very organized. Well, like, I feel like no one can ever be as organized as they want, but I definitely do have like a scheduler, and then sometimes I do like in terms of like making time for play, it's really important not to schedule and like choke that to death.
So you
Yeah,
actually do you schedule your playtime or?
I don't. So that's the thing.
Oh,
I've like
okay.
learned to manage because then I'm still not having fun because I kind of structured it in. So I've learned to like throughout the workday, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then usually I find weekends are when I can just let's go have fun, see what we get up to. So yeah,
All these many
technically
things.
I'm scheduling it in
Yeah,
on the weekend.
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
But like all these many things you do, which one came first?
Acting. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I like came out of my mom like ready to just do a whole musical.
what do
Like,
you love
yeah.
about acting though?
What do I love about it?
Hmm.
I think I love the spectacle. Like I love the party. I love feeling it makes me feel really alive. Like it makes me feel the most alive when I'm performing and acting and
Hmm.
being in the moment. Yeah, I think that's when like my mind gets to like shut off and then I'm actually my most present self. That and meditating. But of course I love acting. Yeah.
So like, I mean, okay, you came out of the womb acting and singing, but like, did you when did it actually start for you? Did you just go, like, was it in school? Where was it?
Yeah, I did my first musical when I was about 9 and then I was hooked.
What musical was it? Do you remember?
It was Canadian. It was like a Canadian like kids musical.
Oh, okay.
Grade 4. And then grade 5, it was called A Storybook Christmas. That's what it was. So it was like a
Oh, okay.
Christmas musical. And we were in grade 5, so we were 10.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was awesome. I played Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
love about that experience?
Sorry, what was it?
What did you love about that experience?
What I loved about it was
Mm,
my first time really singing, dancing, and acting, and being in front of an audience, and really being able to shine, like
mm,
being on stage like that. It was an opportunity to really be myself in front of a big crowd, and I think that's something that I really excelled in is being in front of people like that.
mm.
So I loved it. I love making people laugh. I love making people laugh and smile. I think that's really what it is, like having that conversation with the audience. Like I loved it. It was so fun.
Hmm. So, like, I mean, it's one thing, you're 9, 10, doing the acting, but as you're getting older, did you ever get a push to get like a serious job, or like
Oh yeah.
were your parents on board with this whole acting dream?
My parents are Chinese. What do you think? We're like, what the heck? What's going on? So yeah, no, they came straight from China, to just build a new life. So that's not what they wanted. However, I would say that my parents are very they were really great. They're not like typical, not even Asian parents, just like typical parents. They were very they saw what I was good at. They saw what I loved. They obviously tried to steer me into a more secure position. They were like, "What about being a teacher? Why don't you look into being a doctor?" Like all that. And then I mean, I did. And I had really good grades. So then, like, the promise was all through high school, like, if I get good grades, I can do drama class, I can do music class, I can do my art. So that's how I swung it because I was very good at pretending to be smart, at least. I was like, I'm smart. I did it. I did it
I
all.
mean, you know what? You can't really pretend with the grades, though, right? Like,
I think you can in high school because my
oh,
mom,
okay,
like, okay, so I was like a Kumon kid. You remember when you just do math? Like your parents take you to math. It was a Chinese thing. So like parents take you to math and you get extra tutoring. So I think there is a level of that kind of work ethic. It's a habit for me because I would say that I am intelligent, like academically, like that. But a lot of it was just okay. I just need to memorize the multiplication. I need to memorize the division. I need to memorize it so then I can regurgitate it. But the second we
right,
got into grade 9 math, when you started doing y equals mx plus b like parabola, gone. Your girl was gone because my brain couldn't go there. My brain
right.
didn't want to go there. So it's like
Mm.
it took me so far. And then after that, I knew I was like faking it real hard in high school because I was like, I don't know how to, so I'm just gonna have to study. But the studying is really like a lot of regurgitating, but I don't know what. There was no
Right, right,
concept.
right.
No, yes, you see? So I was very smart because I knew that I couldn't do it. So I had to fake it so that I could do drama class.
Mm. So, what did you do? Like right after, did you study film or anything in university or?
I did go to theater school. So the promise was like I got into theater school and then I would get a minor in psychology just in
Wow.
case. So that was for my mother. It, yeah. I don't know if it really came in handy. I just have some basic knowledge of human beings. I think it does help in terms of acting, but in terms of anything else, I don't know what I can get with like a minor in psych.
So you were like doing I mean, lots of acting on stage, right? When was your first in front of a camera thing?
First in front of camera thing. I think I booked my first commercial in third year university.
Oh, what
Yeah,
commercial was it?
it was for Monistat. It was for yeast infections. Israel.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So, like, did you get an agency right away, or how did that work?
Yeah, I did. I right when I moved here, I would think I was like 17 and I got one. And you're not
Oh,
supposed to. Back in the day, and I
no?
still don't think you're allowed to a theater school. They want you 100% committed to theater school. You're not to get an agent because then it like apparently pulls you from class and all this and that. It was very strict, and I think it still is for like a BFA program. I think it still is. But
That's kind of crap, though, because, like, I mean, not to hit on the stage, but if you can get your foot in the door of making film, why would you, you know?
I
Anyway,
know.
okay. So commercials, like what commercials were kind of like your gateway in? When did you do like film?
Yeah. So I got yeah, commercials and then after I graduated theater school, I started doing on camera classes because it was a different kind of acting. Like was trained one way and then I had to untrain that way.
Yeah, you have to
Yes.
shout versus you have to
Yes.
like
You have to like whisper or you have to like speak like a
yeah, yeah.
normal
You
ass
can
person,
tell someone
right?
that just
Yeah.
went to like,
Theater
hey,
school.
listen, the audience is right there. They're not down the road.
Exactly. So I had to untrain myself for about a good 5 years. Like it took about
Mm.
5 years before I really saw any sort of IMDb credit. It was tough. It was a bit tough at the time. And diversity was different at that
And that's
time
what I was
too.
going to ask. Did it
It
also
was
count that you're
very different.
Chinese? Also, like, did that play factor into you not getting as many jobs as?
I would definitely think so. It was very different. It was like right when we were cusping, it was shifting. Like in theater school, other theater schools like Ryerson and York, in Toronto, right? It was mostly white with like one black person or something like that. It was very different. And for my program, it was like me and then like another Indian girl. It was still pretty white. And when you went out, film was just like that too. Like film and TV was like that. So I actually like a few years later after I was doing all my film training and I was getting good and I was like, I'm still not booking. So I started a YouTube channel. And then my YouTube channel, that's where I started writing and directing and just making skits. Making skits. And they were like crazy and like kind of terrible, like, looking back, but it really taught me how to edit. Like I'm a really good editor. Now I just edit all my own stuff. So that's what I kind of did at the beginning in terms of film and like internet and anything on camera. I taught myself.
Wow. Was that easy to do? I mean, like, no, that's not the question I'm trying to ask. Like, going from, I mean, was that difficult to do because you've done all this training and you're going for all this casting and you're not getting a job? Like, there's a part of you that might feel like, oh, fuck, what did I do? Versus, I'm just going to take all these skills and go and do stuff for myself. Like, was that transition easy?
Yeah, I think it's definitely all of it's a mental game, and I think I got sick of being the victim and like constantly complaining and whining about how the world's not fair, the industry's not fair. So I had to get sick of that. And then before I powerfully chose to create something for myself to really be able to shine on screen for myself. That's the only thing I really
Mm,
wanted to see was someone like me and went on me. Yeah. So yeah, the transition took a few. It's still an ongoing thing, like that mental game, right? We're always
mm-hmm,
psyching
mm-hmm.
yourself out. Oh, I can't. I'm not good enough. It never really goes away. It comes in different situations and scenarios as you continually evolve on your journey. I find, but
Mm.
it does get easier because I can spot it quicker and be like, okay, dropping that. That doesn't work. Like, but that was what really it was. Yeah.
Was it all you? Did you have any friends come help? How, how's that
And
been so far, I guess?
like in terms of YouTube,
Mm.
it was mostly me by myself. Yeah. So I was
But
just
that's tough though. Like I'm super lazy and I'm like, oh, but I don't do shit myself. Like I surround myself with people. So when I see people that actually have a channel and they're doing it themselves, I'm like, holy shit. That's a lot of work.
it
That's a lot
is.
of work.
I don't think it's smart. I think it's smart to have a team, right? Like there is a level of like having teams and teamwork.
Fair
But at the
enough.
time, yes. And now I'm really good with that. But I think at the time it did work because I had to learn like what it is I wanted to even create. Like it didn't really work to have a partner there because I don't even know what I was creating. I didn't even know I was discovering my voice. And that
Mm,
takes
mm,
time to like, what am I like that pulling out? Like, what am I really saying? It's a nice journey with the self, I think. And it's
mm,
really important because it's foundational. Because once I actually know my voice, I know myself now. Now
mm,
when I onboard someone onto my team, it's easy. Because I'm not over
mm,
here flip flopping, be like, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I don't know. And you've worked with people like that. It's like it's awful because you're like, oh, it's not even for the money. You're just like, okay, what are we doing? So I think in that sense, it was hard and I was by myself around it, and it is
yeah.
necessary at that
Mm.
time. And then eventually, now I have teams and teamwork. It's great.
Yeah, you hear that thing a lot now about finding your voice. What was that process like for you? I know you kind of talked about it, but what was that like for you, really finding who Connie is?
Yeah. And from like as early as I can remember, because I was so good at I'm a funny girl. I'm so like I can work a crowd that I was always like kind of working crowds at school and just like making people laugh. But I was like, what do I really want to say? Or like how do I really feel? What's there? There was always like a kind of like a disconnect with how I truly authentically was feeling or thinking and like what I was portraying. Do you get
Mm,
me?
mm,
And
mm,
then eventually in my 20s, it like caught up to me because I felt like I was so just like really sad. Like after theater school and those 5 years of not seeing anything, it was really tough on me. And like tough in a sense, like, I'm working all these jobs, just paycheck to paycheck, no relationship, just no nothing, barely had time to see friends. Like it was just really tough. And I wasn't saying it. Like I almost like didn't know how in a way because I've been conditioned to just be always so happy. So that's
mm,
what I meant by like finding my voice. So it was like um I meditate a lot and I went to a silent meditation retreat. It was 10 days.
no.
And
No,
yes,
wait, sorry, I'll let you continue. Are you saying you didn't talk for 10 days?
it's not even talking part. It's like you're like meditating for like 16 hours a day.
Okay, okay, go on. Holy
it,
shit, no.
it's the best. I like highly recommend it. There's centers everywhere all over the world. It's called Vipassana meditation is the modality. And it's free, so it's wonderful. And then you stay there too. And then yeah, it was just a really great access to myself and like my higher like spirituality, yeah, that big voice, I like to say. Because after I did that, I came home and I just like continued to meditate for about a year, almost like 9 months. Don't know why. My body was just like up at 4:30 in the morning, and I just sit there for 3 hours and meditate. And I just remember like hearing, like while I was meditating, like hearing a voice be like, the life that you're creating, you need to do this. Like you need to train yourself like this. I don't know how long, but this needs to happen for you to be able to conquer or whatever that word was, to be able to be that person that you actually want to be in life. So then I just like
Wow.
followed the voice. It was a very, very strong and loud intuition for sure. And it came at a
Mm.
great time. I call it my spiritual awakening because after
Mm.
that, after that, I kind of had to surrender to that voice. It was so loud and it was always there. So I surrendered to it and I followed it. And I, within like 6 months of that, starting that meditation retreat, I was a full time actress by then, moved into a new apartment, had a complete new set of friends, and really felt like because I was actually saying like what I wanted in life, like really like finding my voice, expressing my voice authentically, and I was
Yeah.
attracting all the right people, all the right situations and circumstances. So it was a really beautiful time in life. Actually, like it was really hard because I was rewiring everything in 9 months all by myself again. No one knew but my roommate at the time, who's like a dear friend, but she saw me transitioning. Like she really saw me transitioning, and that's how I became plant based. Like I that people are like, "Oh, you're vegan for the animals." I'm like, "Not really." Like I just was meditating so much, and then I started like not having cravings because I was an emotional eater, right? Like we're all conditioned to be emotional eaters. So I was an emotional eater, and I was like, "I'm gonna release this." I would work through it. You work through
Mm.
it in meditation, and then you get to be the master. I get to be the master of my mind. I get to be the master of my body and not give in to those impulses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, you said by then you had started acting. What was, I mean, I think one of the biggest things you've been is The Boys, but like, what was when you're like, oh wow, this is a set, versus you and your camera doing your YouTube thing?
Yeah, so I booked a few children's things like Odd Squad, which is great. It was super fun. And then after that, I got the lead for a web series called Tokens. And that was really awesome. I created that with the director, and we like she wrote the series like with me, not for me, but like with me, which is really awesome. So I could lead that, and that's how I knew. I was like, oh wow, like how am I the lead of something
What was Tokens
already?
about?
It was about like an on-call casting agency that was sent out to, and they're all diverse background people, like sent out to fill the quota for the big production. So then you see like what happens with like the different diverse characters and what kind of those people and what kind of characters they get into. So it was really a
So did
reflection
your
of real
ex?
life.
Yeah, exactly. Did
Yeah.
the experience you had those 5 years in the wilderness come into play when you're writing Tokens?
I didn't write tokens, but I did
Well, like
offer,
when
yeah.
you, yeah,
Well, when
not
we were
right, but
playing
like,
it for sure, like it was like
mm,
so relatable in so
mm,
many ways, in every way, and even my co-star, like it was so relatable. So it was wonderful. It was lots of fun. It was a really great way to, because it was before the times, right? It was a very it was a very honest piece, and it was received well, I think, because the comedy, because you're not like attacking people, you're just showing and we're all
this
laughing.
is what happens.
Yeah, and you're like, we can all relate. So that was really great about it. Yeah.
How did The Voice happen? I'm so curious because it's a great show, love it, but how did it happen for you?
I auditioned. I auditioned and then I got it. And then it was originally just a one episode thing in season 1. And
Did
then they
you know what The Boys would be before like you got on it?
Not really. Like, I did as much research as I could, and I knew it was
Mm.
like some superhero comic book thing, and the heroes aren't the best, and I knew that, but it was season one, so it was they were in the middle of filming season one, I think, so I had no clue. Um, yeah, but I had a lot of fun, and I knew it was going to be big because I watched Gossip Girl when I was little, and Chase Crawford was on there, so I was like, okay, hey, that's awesome. And other people for sure, but I was like, it was Chase Crawford that I was like, oh my god, because I was also working on Vought side, so I was gonna be with all the heroes there. I wasn't with the boys, so I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So yeah, I originally auditioned for season one, and then they wrote me back in for season two.
She's like, we like her, bring her back.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've been going down this rabbit hole of you acting and stuff, but Canadian Famous is
Ooh.
how this really happened. So you're like, I'm building this career, but I'm a funny girl, so I'm just gonna do this fun. Like because to me, I feel the most difficult thing to write is comedy, right? It's not even that it's subjective or whatever, just making something that will make people laugh. It's funny because when you read something that is funny, you know it, but actually writing it is like a different skill set. And I think it's the most difficult thing to write. So, where did that come from? And how do you decide, okay, I've conquered this world, now I'm going to go try this other thing?
Great question. So I think it was like around 2016 or 2017. I did a 5 minute bit and did it at a comedy bar, and I was super embarrassed because I didn't think it went well, and I just stopped, and I was like, I'm just gonna act forever and then do some YouTube stuff. But again, like didn't like about that finding my voice thing and expressing it, didn't really have that avenue until last year when there was the writer strike, when all the strikes started happening in Hollywood and actor strike, all that. And I had so much downtime, and I was like just dying to perform and to say something. So last year, also early on, even before the strike happened, I was like, I think I'm gonna have my own Netflix special this year. Like, I think I'm gonna do it. I don't know how, but I really want to. And then we wound up going into the strike anyway, right? So I was like, oh, well, then this kind of works. So now I'm just going to go out every night and I'm going to write something. So, like, I went out the one time in March or end of February when I came home, and I was like, okay, I'm going to write a 1 hour special. I'm just going to do it. So then it was around September of last year. So I kind of just did comedy like twice, 3 times a week max. And then September hit. Like, I remember because we were at TIFF, and I was like, okay, I'm setting it for November 10th. We're writing it. So I wrote the whole thing, the whole 1 hour in less than 6 weeks. Yo, tickets were selling. I didn't even have a show. I hadn't even written a word. Ah, yeah. It was crazy. Crazy. And then I performed it, and I was like, wow, this was just so fulfilling and so incredible. And I thought it was such a wonderful story, about my parents and just growing up here and everything. I was just like, this was just so wonderful. I can't believe I did that.
You did it, show. You did it. You did it. How did you come up with that title, though? Because the title is dope, super
Thank
dope.
you. I think it has a lot to do with like what it's been like being an actress here, and the way to describe it, it is Canadian famous because nobody cares. No, it's like in Canada, unless you made it somewhere else, like nobody cares. So that's why I came with Canadian famous. I'd say I am because I've done so many. Sometimes I get recognized by a Canadian. I'm like, what are the odds? Like, they're like, oh, I know you from that commercial. You seem so familiar. Like, I know you. I'm like, yeah, yeah, the boys are like, yeah, yeah, it's on tokens. Like, to be recognized by Canadians within Canada, I think that definitely says something about how hard I've worked to get
Mm.
up here. And also, I do have management in Los Angeles, and I have branched out into America. So now I'm in a different pool. So I think that's why lasering on Canadian famous, there's like a new lens on it. I was like, okay, there's American famous, and then there's like Canadian famous. What's that like? But yeah.
So, okay, well, I'm just gonna drill in a little bit though. I mean, even though, you said the actual writing was the 6 weeks from September till when you had your show, you had been writing it all your life, right? Now, what did you have to do? Like, what was that actual process of taking all these experiences you've had for years and years and years and then squeezing it into, this 1 hour thing? What did that take? How did you go about it?
The process was extreme because comedy, because I come from theater, right? So there's no, you don't have resources like how you traditionally do. There's no rehearsal process, there's no space. So it was going to ice mics every single night, recording it, watching it back. I did hire a director, so we had rehearsals once a week, but that wasn't enough. Okay. It was also like I was funding everything myself. So there was only so much like financially that I could do as well. So I was out there on my own at these random ass open mics every night, working my material, like 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes, please. And I'd work through material like every night. And then eventually, like, okay, after week one, like, boom, okay, this is the first 10 minutes. And then next week, work through everything. Okay, scrap that, put this in, do that. Okay, boom, next 10 minutes. And that's how we did it. Yeah, so
Did you did you know what the last joke was gonna be?
the night before, yes.
Oh, you're crazy.
I'm crazy. Yeah, we did it the night before. Didn't have it at me.
What?
Yeah.
What made you decide on that? Like what? That's
Here's the thing.
insane. Like,
Here's what I've learned about stand-up is that it's very much, yes, there is like scripted material and you do have like your jokes, but you got to keep it loose because it is improvised. So, half that thing I'm improvising too. I'm like, oh no, I'm talking to a brand new audience. Like, it is improvised. You got to leave room for what's that, like, that voice intuition to just come through and lead you. So that's a thrill of acting. That's a thrill of stand up and comedy is that is in the moment. And I wasn't somebody who's done 100 shows before I could record. This was just one time we're doing it.
wow. So what now? Canadian Famous is done. You're making the rounds with it. What's next for you?
Actually, I'm working on my second special right now. I've decided that I'm going to be
Okay.
a one special a
What
year
is
kind of girl.
why why I'm actually kind of envious because people that do difficult things almost always do really awesome things, and I'm always looking for the easy way out. But I love that you are always looking for like you've done this. You want to wait like a year, 2 years, like, no, I'm doing another one. How's the process for the new one with the second special going?
It's definitely a lot like more open. We've got, 6 months. Again, it's gonna be around it's November 9th. Already booked the venue. This time it's a double show back to back.
Oh
But
wow.
I have a feeling there might was gonna add more shows, but right now, right now it's two. And I'm just working material. Like I'm starting with like my first 10 minutes for 15 minutes right now, working it, going to open mic, jamming, meeting with my director, having space for it. It feels like I'd actually work a joke. Because I think last time it was so, we got to do this now. We're flying. Whereas this time I can actually work and be like, I don't know, maybe I could work more on my writing, like finesse it more. There's more of that
Mm.
opportunity. Um,
So when, like, we're talking of the big thing, but let's narrow it down. A joke, like when it comes to a joke, where does it come from? Do you just does it just drop from the sky? Is it something you see? And then when you get that, oh shoot, this is funny. How do you now take that and kind of transcribe it into this piece that you tell? You know where it's gonna land, you know how to start it, and then how you feel in the middle.
yeah. So there's a few things. One, I'll keep a notebook of like funny things that happened to me this week or like during the day. And you gotta write down, otherwise you're gonna forget. Another way to do it, I do both. So I do that. And then number two, I'll set my timer on my cell phone. And I'll start free writing about just anything. What happened today? What happened this week? And then just free write. Just
Oh.
let it flow. And then
Mm,
the timer goes off. Like 10 minutes is even fine. Okay, 10 minutes. You see? And there's like funny shit in there. Like life is funny. Life is very funny. So those are my two ways of initially starting. And then after that, I write every single day. And what that looks like is at least 30 minutes to an hour. Wake up first thing in the morning, meditate. I meditate, do some yoga, and then I'm hitting the book.
wow.
Because it's a muscle, right? Imagination, creativity is a muscle. So if you're going to be working out your body every day, you got to do the same things as craft. So
Mm,
that's what I do too. It's like I write every day, and sometimes it sucks. But then I can see it though. Like I'm like, okay, this sucks for today. But then the next
mm,
day I pick it up and I'm like, oh, I can it's like a puzzle. But you gotta have
mm,
time, and that's why I say it's better just to write consistently every day than to just write
mm,
once a week because you're
mm.
you're putting the puzzle together and it's easier on you. So that's what I've been doing. That's my process right now, and it really
Wow.
works for me. And then at night, I go out and I work the material. So I get 5 minutes. I just go up and I just do it. And sometimes I just write 3 words, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna talk about this of like kind of what I wrote about in the morning, and
Mm,
then work it. So it's different than last year because last year I kind of had it more scripted. But now, right now, where I'm at in the process is like, okay, so here's the idea. Like, why don't we talk about like shoelaces or, for example, like shoelace versus Velcro, like that shoe thing, and just a little bit and like the physical humor behind it. You could play with it on stage. Who cares if no one laughs? But you're like you need to find ways to work it and rehearse. And if you need an
mm.
audience, do it.
Huh, okay, thanks for sharing that. I thought it would be like, oh, it's easy. No, it's not easy at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So
moving parts. There's a lot of parts to it.
yeah. So many things happening. Okay, so I mean, you have this goal to make this thing happen, and I'm wondering, like, is there any acting thing coming down the pipeline, or
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm on set this week. Cannot say what
wow,
for,
right,
but
right,
yeah,
right.
I'm acting. Like I'm doing everything. And it's wonderful. I'm literally like living my dreams.
Mm,
It's so awesome to, you work so hard like my whole life that now it's like, oh, I get to actually like, release my hands from like grip so hard and just relax and God supports, the universe supports me, relax, and then go out and really say what I want to say what I need to say.
mm.
Um, because there's a higher purpose. There's a higher purpose for the work that I do, and what light am I bringing? Like, what is it that I want to say? What is it that I can bring to the world that is going to spread joy? That's
Mm.
really what I'm here to do. I think that's really like
Why is
my
that
boy.
important to you? Because you actually talked about that earlier on, and you're bringing back. Why is that important to you?
I talked about which one?
Bringing joy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you do. Whether it's with your acting, whether it's with the comedy, whether it's with your YouTube skits, it's trying to bring joy. Why is that important to you?
It's important because there's the world the way it is. It's very heavy. It's heavy and almost like 90% negative. If not, I think I'm being generous. Maybe it's 95% negative. And creating joy, I think, is the most important thing that any person can do in the world is be in joy.
Mm.
Joy is what will resolve a lot of things.
I agree. I agree. Because and the thing
Hmm.
about joy is like, especially comes out in the form of smile. Smiles are so contagious, right? And it's this beautiful circle because you give joy, you make the person happen, and it's this beautiful
Yeah.
circle that just happens. Okay. Yeah, busy lady, and I'm gonna let you go because I don't know, maybe you're just like I have to be on set soon, but someone is like watching and listening to this and like I don't want to go like down the route you've gone, but I have something I love doing. It might be singing, it might be something else, but what advice would you have to share with your experience so far?
Like someone just starting out, right?
Mm.
I would say for sure, one, get training, like that, the private kind, that one-on-one time, because that'll help accelerate and for you to hone your craft. So, I still train, and I think it's really important to have a coach or somebody watching you, because I
Mm.
like to perform at Olympic athlete level. That's my thing. Anyone doing a sport, any athlete, what athlete out there does not have a coach? Okay,
Mm.
so same philosophy in life. Same thing. Get a coach. Number
Mm.
two, we're at a time right now where the internet is great. Okay, it's the wild wild west for sure, but you're gonna find your people on the internet. So, of course, you can still do the traditional thing of like, having your management people, booking you and get paid that way as well. But right now, you also want to get your work out there, get it out there now, create stuff, build your business. Because when you build that, you're not waiting for your next job. You're not
Mm.
waiting for someone to hire you. You
Mhm.
can go do that. You're the one, you're the CEO, right? Because there's the
Mm.
employer mindset and the employee mindset. And artists are always in the employee mindset. It's very
Yep.
poor, it's very lack. It's always like, I don't have the power. I'm like, but you have the skill. You're the
Mm.
talent. You're the one with the ideas. So again, it's the mental game of being
Mm.
the employer. You want to be the employer. You're the one that does the hiring. You're the one that partners with people. So you are a part of it. So that's something that I feel like I would have wanted to hear when I was younger, on like how to start. And of course, but that's like the main focus for me now. That's also why I went to comedy. I was like, oh my gosh, I own everything. I set my whole schedule. I set the prices to my tickets. I get to say how many shows I do. I get to say all this. I get to say how much money I want to make.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So,
Mm.
because I don't want to be work for hire forever. Like, what? Like that can't be my only avenue,
Yeah.
right? That can't be the only streams of income. Like that's also what I want to say
Mhm.
too, is like around money stuff. It's like your art, want to keep it so that your art it's a holy thing. It's a sacred thing. So for me, I've learned to have other jobs. Like for a very long time, I wanted to be a full-time actress. What'd that look like? Okay, I'm gonna book one movie, and that's where all my money's gonna come from. Well, I learned that that's going to put a lot of stress on my art. And that's not going to be freedom. It's not going to be joy. People aren't going to enjoy watching that. So then I had to
Mhm.
learn to pivot and be like, okay, what if I had multiple streams of income? What if I had passive income? Right. And it's learning about creating, okay, 10 different ways to create income for myself. Learning different ways of like, okay, maybe not trading time for money. Maybe I can just do how can I do the one product, do the one video, right? It's starting to think that way so you can free up your time and then you can create more. You can create more. So you asked me, how do I create so much? Yeah, I am organized, but I've learned throughout the years. I'm like, okay, this doesn't work for me. I don't want to actually trade time for money. I want to create one thing and then sell that, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to. So you get to be strategic that way too, and that's really important because that's where we're headed and where freedom is really.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Well, Connie, it's really, really awesome to chat with you. I can't wait to see whatever this new project you're on is. And November isn't that far away, so I might come to actually watch the show in person. But I wanted to say thanks for all the cool things you do, and thanks for coming to the sanctuary today.
Thanks for having me. I would love to have you at the special. Okay. So,
Okay, I'll be there November. Yeah,
H.
yeah, yeah. So I can only find Connie Wang.
You can find me on Instagram at Connie Wang _, and it is spelled WANG. Everybody, for people listening. Also, everything else you can find me on my website too at theconniewang.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye. Thanks.